Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Tekken Talk. Today, we are talking about the top 10, in my opinion, Tekken sets, tournament sets of Tekken 7's lifetime. Now, Tekken 8 comes out in about 3 or 4 months, late January 2024, and the major tournaments, the major dojos are winding down, so I figured it would be a good time to go over a top 10 and kind of look back at the best sets in competitive Tekken 7's history. Quick disclosures. One is I'm fully aware that the Tekken World Tour Finals for this season is in January. However, I am not going to include that tournament because I think there's going to be a bunch of Tekken 8 announcements then, and I think the Tekken 8 hype train will just be rolling. So if there is a really great tournament match then, I will talk about it at that time, but it won't be on this list. I will also not be including pre-international console release matches. So I believe that includes EVO 2015, as the international community didn't really get it yet. It wasn't a full released game. The other exclusion criteria, I know we have a lot of caveats here, is any special tournament format / events. So team tournaments like Kagemaru's Master Cup run, I will not be including in this list, although I think unanimously people think Kagemaru's comeback is one of the best sets / moments in Tekken 7 history. Let me just have a sip of apple cider. Um, and also Red Bull Golden Letters, which is an awesome event. Specifically, last year's Golden Letters, where Ao Richie defeated Anakin in the grand finals. It was just an epic match. Ao Richie took it home. That will also not be on this list, although I do think from a entertainment point of view, it totally deserves to be. So let's go ahead and get into some honorable mentions and then into the top 10. So, honorable mentions are three matches that are all very similar in the sense that the match itself was great, but they're mostly known for a moment as opposed to the match overall. And so, one of these matches is the Super Akuma versus Chikarin, the Mix Up 2019 Winners Quarterfinals. Of course, the most famous Tekken 7 individual clip is the combo Super Akuma has over Chikarin in the final game, where he does like a 90% combo. Super Akuma has come out and said it wasn't fully optimized, but it's a wall-to-wall Akuma combo with 2 bars of meter. It starts by jumping over Jin's down forward 2. So it jumps over a mid, ends with a Raging Demon into a low parry to win the round with iconic casting from Markman. I think the line like, "You've got 200 IQ, well I got 202 or something," is a signature moment in Tekken history. But the overall match itself, I don't think it quite stands up to the other matches on the list. Speaking of which, just to get into a little bit of criteria, so this list doesn't sound totally insane. I do have some priority over like international competition. So if there's an international match, between international opponents, I generally will rank it higher. Also, the impact on the game's history I take into account. So how important of a match was it? And then lastly, my subjective entertainment factor. So another honorable mention here. I really wanted to put this in the top 10, but based on the criteria of prioritizing international matches, I just couldn't. Joey Fury versus Genghis Don Combo Breaker 2023. I think people can agree if you watch it. It is the most crazy ending of a round. The final round, is the most crazy and clutch ending of a round, I think, in Tekken 7's history. It's just absurd. Joey Fury clutches it out. Oh yeah, by the way, spoilers, of course, for all these matches. I know I said that after the fact, but Joey Fury clutches it out with just an insane low parry. There's slow mo. It's at a major tournament. It has everything you want about a peak Tekken 7 match. The only downside for me is it wasn't like a grand final, so it was top 12 losers, so it wasn't even a top 8 match. And also, it's national competition as opposed to international competition. But it was just an awesome, awesome set. And please go watch this set along with all the other sets. All the other sets. Last two honorable mention, or last one honorable mention, one more disclaimer, and then we'll get into the list. Again, when it comes to like thinking about a match overall as opposed to just moments, this match didn't quite make it. But when we're thinking about moments, like iconic moments, TWT Finals 2019, a Weiss Honey versus Low High. I think this match has a lot going for it. From one, it's Korea Pakistan. This was kind of like, this was at a time when the overall consensus was Pakistan is just going to steamroll everyone and there's going to be almost no resistance. And this was basically Low High. Low High's performance basically had everyone thinking, okay, it's closer than we thought. Like Korea and top Korean players can still compete with these people, or with players from this nation. And the absolutely insane rage art from Low High to win the match and basically make that statement cemented, like, you know, we were the top Tekken nation. And I know this is not probably exactly how these players' minds are. It's just from a spectator's point of view and from a Tekken community point of view. I think there's a lot of emphasis on international and nationality based kind of Tekken discussion, and it really did feel like, you know, oh wow, it's not just Pakistan going to roll over everyone. And note this was like the last major tournament before the pandemic, so I think this match really left a solid impression before like a couple years of not the best times. One last thing I want to mention before the top 10, or never mind, let's just get into it, and I might bring it up later, I might not. So just a reminder of these criteria. One, they are my opinion. Two, I largely consider international competition in terms of like uh, players from different nationalities. Three, the scale of the event matters. So if it's a huge tournament, I'm putting more weight on that. Four, how much impact did it have on the Tekken 7 scene? I'm even including things like YouTube viewership, iconic moments, stuff like that. And five, just overall hype levels. And coming in at number 10, we have a match from today. I was not expecting this to happen this morning, but I woke up and I watched the ATL Super Tournament, and it was a great tournament. But as I was watching it, I was scrolling on YouTube and got recommended a match from a different tournament that I didn't even know was going on. The Jemputin Tekken 7 Championship. I'm not exactly sure where this took place, but it is between Arslan Ash. There's going to be quite a couple Arslan Ash matches. Okay, it was held in Malaysia. It was held in Malaysia. Um, Arslan Ash versus Low High. So Evo Champ versus Evo Champ. Grand Finals. As far as I know, this was a standard format tournament. And I woke up, I finished the ATL Super Tournament, said that was pretty good. I mean, Knee kind of destroyed everyone, but it was pretty good. Let's check out this grand final of this other tournament. And I thought, going into it, I was like, okay, Arslan, he's on top of the world right now, easily the best player in the world. It'll just kind of be a roll. And then I saw Arslan was from Losers, and I was like, okay, let's take a seat and relax and enjoy this set. And oh my god, this is it immediately jumped into my top 10 sets just because the amount of clutch, the clutch to minute of gameplay ratio, I think is maybe the highest in this set to any other Tekken 7 set in history. I think this set has non-stop clutch moments from Arslan and non-stop clutch moments from Low High to just culminate in such a high level, such a fast paced, such a intense grand finals where I mean the commentators are doing it justice. Unfortunately, the only video I can find online at this point is a little bit choppy and not doesn't have the best frame rate. But I mean the reset from Arslan and then the way Arslan closes it out is just insane. And even though I'm spoiling this match, please go and watch it. It's from today, October 29th. Just what it's just a great grand finals overall. We even have some character switching, and again, just I would characterize the set as clutch, just pure clutch. So okay, moving on to number nine. This is maybe a hot take, but 2019 Tekken World Tour Finals, a Tiff Butt versus I Musician. Now, this is the only match on this list, arguably, that is kind of a blowout in the sense of it wasn't really a close match. Right, iMusician took it 2-0 over Active but again, going into the match, the context and the circumstance matters, right? A Tiff had come off this year winning, I think, two Masters events, including the huge Tokyo Masters event, and Arslan had said he was better than him, and it was the Pakistani Akuma just like destroying everyone, and nobody had an answer. And I'm a musician in this losers top eight match. So to be fair, Atif did already lose a match beforehand, but the way I'm musician dispatched Atif Butt, he did it full of creativity, full of self-expression, full of adaptivity to Atif's gameplay. I mean, full of total mind game dominance. And the way he downloads a tiff by the end of the second game, I think it's just a beautiful thing. And even though it wasn't a super close match, seeing someone have that much control over their character and express themselves that much through Tekken as opposed to like just viewing Tekken as a fighting game, but viewing Tekken as a means of expression, without question, without doubt, this match is in my top 10. And if the circumstances were like a little bit higher, so if it was like a finals or something, this might even be in my top five. But it's just a great match and so entertaining. It's music to the eyes. I'm musician Tiff Butt at number nine. At number eight, we have another recent entry. This match is very similar, which kind of made me want to almost not include it. But it's very similar to our number 10 pick of Arslan versus Lohai, but it's Arslan versus Cherry Berry Mango, Cape Town Showdown 2023. I don't think there's much to say about this set other than you gotta watch it. In the sense of like, it's a very long set, it's a very complicated set, but I think it's characterized by a tug of war style mind game between these two players and really like an aggression slash want to win that is rare, I think, in a grand final situation where tensions are high. But there was kind of just a controlled aggression between both of these players, and specifically CBM, who is playing like he has something to prove, versus Arslan, again, who's going to be the favorite in every tournament. And yeah, CBM just clutches it out. I think this match deserves a top 10 spot because if you have like 35 or 40 minutes and you have a cup of coffee and you have a snack or tea, whatever your beverage of choice, it's the perfect match, I would say, to just sit back, relax, and appreciate some like really good Tekken gameplay. And again, it's a grand finals international tournament. Gotta love it. And Anyway, next up we have this is let's see, number 6 on the list. Jimmy J Tran versus Arslan Ash. Arslan Ash is in a lot of these videos, but Jimmy J Tran makes an appearance. Evo Japan 2019. This match is not only hype and exciting from the gameplay point of view, because any Jimmy J Tran match is, of course, very exciting. But I think when people think of the match that Arslan changed everything, I think people think of this match. Yes, he had a grand final versus AK. He beat Nee earlier in the bracket. He beat Nee in a tournament before this. But this was the match I think most people think of as the staple match of the EVO Japan 2019 tournament that changed Tekken. I think it changed the FGC. It changed a lot because this is the match where Arslan looked vulnerable and you kind of saw all of those cracks and probably all the fatigue that came from, the travel story, the early loss to Boa, the long way through the losers bracket, and Jimmy, who's just, a fan favorite. And this is where you saw Arslan kind of persevere and apply a new style of play to just clutch it out and make it through to the losers semifinal. And it was just the commentary was iconic. I think the combos from Jimmy in the final game were sick. And I mean, it was a staple match of the history of Tekken 7. And I think to this day, even, it still holds up as a really entertaining match. And yeah, Arslan broke onto the scene, and I think, caught everyone's notice, not just with the results, but with how hype and how exciting this match was. Coming in at, I realized that was 7, by the way. So coming in at number 6, um, the classic, the OG 2017 Tekken World Tour Finals, Kudans versus Echo Fox Saint. I mean, this is the match that kicked off Tekken 7 as something special. This is the match where it's like, okay, Tekken 7 might not be like other Tekkens. It's going to have mainstream appeal with things like slow-mos and rage arts. And it's going to have like just a flashier look overall that kind of feels like a kung fu movie in a sense. And I mean, this was the match that encapsulated that. The 14 frame perfect electric punish from Q-Dons to kind of shift the momentum into total dominance. The emotional, like, solitude of Saint's facial expressions, the utter dominance of just a couple moves, which I think, again, shaped a lot of the Tekken meta of, like, a couple move gameplay of Devil Jin's Hell Sweep up forward 4 and Jack's Jackhammer and down forward 2 and down back 1. I mean, the commentary, like, from Eris and Markman, I think this was an iconic game, and I think when a lot of us look back at, what was the key game that kicked off Tekken 7's competitive popularity and got everybody really excited for the Tekken World Tour, I think it's this game, and it deserves a spot in this top 10. All right, now we're at top 5. We are at top 5. I think these matches could be switched up in order a little bit, as is the case with most top 5s. But coming in at number 5, Tekken World Tour Masters event, Rev Major 2022, Losers Final, John Ding versus a Tiff Butt. For those of you who don't know, this tournament, I believe John Ding's grandfather or one of his grandparents actually passed away, either that weekend or that day, I think, and he dedicated this tournament to him. And the set itself is just, it has everything. The ending is perfect. The final round situation is perfect. The character switching mind games is perfect. The Korea versus Pakistan narrative, the personal motivation from John Ding, the the feeling of top tier Jin Zafina versus bottom tier Eddie Chloe matchup. I mean, I think if I'm choosing one set to kind of say, okay, what's the most entertaining? Like, turn off all commentary, turn off all music, turn off all external factors. What's the single most entertaining set in Tekken 7 history? I think it's this one. So, again, rid context of everything, just pure gameplay. For me personally, I mean, this set is just perfect from an entertainment point of view. And again, it finishes off with an iconic moment, the iconic John Dang Rage Art to clutch it out, and the huge celebration, huge pop off, knowing how big of a deal this was. Coming in at number 4, this is the match everybody knows. I think it's probably top one of the most famous Tekken 7 matches, one of the most famous esports fighting game matches. Rev Major 2017, me versus JDCR. I think this is the game that me personally got me hooked on competitive Tekken. The Going back to the Qdons versus Saint match of the feeling of a martial arts movie. I mean, this match was a martial arts movie in itself. The tempo steps from Knee, the clutch time situations from JDCR, the composure from JDCR amid kind of Knee's weird aggressive slash hyper defensive with his tempo step movement was just perfect. The poking game, the plus frame running two mind games, the stage variety, right? This is back when you couldn't just pick the same stage over and over again. The commentary from Markman and Tasty Steve. It's a winners finals, excuse me. The crowd. I mean, this is one of the few matches where the crowd is really into it, and you can hear the crowd through the screen. The rivalry between me and JDCR historically built up to this match, and yeah, when I'm gonna show my friends a competitive Tekken match if they're interested and they don't know much about it, this is one of the matches I show them because it's just the style of play and the movement. I think is actually relatively easy to the eye, even if you don't know what's going on per se, because again, it itself looks like a kung fu movie. I think everyone will remember this set going forward. Absolutely legendary set. This is the only thing keeping us from being higher is again it's not international competition, and the circumstances are not quite grand finals. Okay, top three. Top three. Here we go. We're coming in at the best, the most hype and exciting grand finals that is not between Korea and Pakistan. That is, of course, Combo Breaker 2019, Knee versus Anakin. Perseverance from Anakin. The home crowd rooting for Anakin, but Knee's nonstop. Can't be killed. I am a Terminator. You cannot stop me. I'm a bulldozer. It's kind of like Knee's just an immovable object here. The sidestep death fist, the low parries, again, the stage variety, the crowd, the matchup of Paul and Jack, so you get that low heading death fist, huge combos. International competition, grand finals to a reset. I mean, also circumstantially, again, this was kind of pre Arslan Ash era, but this was Knee cementing himself as the best in Tekken 7 up until that point, up until the Arslan arrival. But I mean, again, the crowd, the commentary, again, from Rip and Tasty Steve, I believe, was just great. And yeah, this is an iconic match, even from like a super nerdy point of view, right? The costumes of like the red Paul classic outfit versus Jack. it was just so sick. The gameplay was great. The narratives were great. The crowds were great. Anakin getting up, getting a Red Bull with the crowd super hype. I think it just kind of encapsulated peak Tekken. But coming in at number two, the most famous, I think, Tekken 7 match, the most views on YouTube, the most famous commentary lines, the loudest crowd, Evo 2018, Lil Majin versus JDCR. I'm assuming you've seen this match. If you haven't seen this match, go watch this match. The, I mean, I don't watch that much anime. I'm not much of an anime watcher at this point. But as a kid, and throughout even my college years, I would watch anime. And when people say this match is like an anime, in the sense of like Lil Majin gets destroyed the first game, takes off headphones, the crowd goes wild, USA chant, he smiles, comes back, destroys JDCR the second game, and then the third game is as close as you would like it, with mistakes and the comebacks and the commentary. I mean, I don't think there's much else to say about this match other than you got to watch it. There's not too much historical implications from a meta perspective, but at least from a viewership perspective slash bringing Tekken into popularity, I think this led to a bunch of new sponsors for different players. It led to celebrities being more interested in the game. Just a super important match in Tekken 7 history, even if it might not be a huge meta-changing match. But it was really great. I think this did mark a little bit the downfall also of the JDCR era, who of course started off Tekken 7 as the most dominant player. But I mean, it really doesn't get much better than that for number two. And coming in at number one, I'm sure you have guessed it, as it has not appeared by now, but this is the most significant match, I think, in Tekken 7's both competitive history, meta history, international history, etc., etc. Arslan Ash versus me, 2019 Grand Finals. Arslan Ash completes the double back-to-back Evo champions, or I guess the double Evo slash back-to-back Evo championships. This marked the real start of the Korea versus Pakistan kind of debate, which has gone on, up to this point. It marked Arslan Ash becoming the best player in the world. It set off a domino effect of kind of the Pakistani Tekken revolution, which has had serious political well, maybe not super serious, but it has had actual political consequences in Pakistan. If you see some of the things that they're investing into esports, it has totally changed the meta of Tekken 7. Again, from an international perspective, of course, within Pakistan, this meta was already developed. But from an international perspective, it totally shifted not only the meta of Tekken 7, but I think the meta of Tekken history, of the Korean style of play is no longer the most dominant, which I think was true for over a decade. And you had this kind of new style of play that was a lot more based off of timing mix-ups, a lot more based off of kind of pressure to defense mind games. And I think it really just kind of changed everything. And we even see from like who's placing at the top of tournaments nowadays, it's people who have largely adapted to this new style of play, or like incorporated it, or figured out how to counter it. But yeah, Arslan showing he was the best player of the world, totally opened up a new region of Tekken to the international community. It was kind of like a dream, right? Like if you had said a year ago, there's this nation that nobody knows about that's literally the best at Tekken, no one would have believed you, and yet it happened. And not only did it happen, right, besides Arslan, I think this kicked off the ability for some players to travel because of sponsorships. Players such as Always Honey and Atif Butt, who showed that Akuma is basically the most broken character to the Tekken community. And yeah, I don't know if there's much else to say. I mean, the commentary, both the streamed version as well as the live tournament version from Rip and Tasty Steve, which you can see on both versions on YouTube, was great. The fact that Nee refused to die, at least in the first couple of games, was great. The Mishima gameplay from Nee is amazing, but then again, Arslan's Kazumi of just a couple moves absolutely dominating Nee with precise timing and precise movement and keep out and pressure. I mean, it was just a whole new level. And since then, I think the overall skill level of players has gone up significantly. So again, if you watch some of the matches, some of the more recent matches that we've talked about in this list, and go back to compare it to 2018 matches, I mean, you'll see the difference in play, both in terms of the pace, but also in terms of the efficiency of play. I mean, each second, a lot more is happening, and yeah, it's still a super entertaining match, and I think it really did change the landscape of Tekken, and that is why I have it at number one. If you remove all context, it might not be quite as entertaining as some of the other matches, but I mean, once we take context into consideration, I think it's for me easily my top spot. Thank you for listening to this list. One last note. I know I did not include any matches of Rankshu's 2018 TWD final run. I think the run itself is one of the most impressive feats in Tekken history. However, having gone back and watched some of the matches, there really was kind of a matchup gap between the top players and Ranchu, and that doesn't make it less impressive from a feat point of view. But from a entertainment point of view, I'm not sure how well it holds up now, just because of the number of mistakes and the number of cracks in different people's gameplay that shows up. But if you wanted to argue that it deserves to be in top 10 for context reasons or because you do really like the matches, I'm not gonna be too mad or anything like that. Of course, I do want to hear your opinions. Did I miss any matches? I watch a lot of Tekken, but I haven't seen everything. I haven't seen every tournament. If I did, please let me know. You can tweet me slash X me. X me sounds wrong. You can tweet me. My username is in the details of this episode, as always. Thank you very much for listening. Have an enjoyable fall/Halloween and happy last couple months of Tekken 7.